Hi, Kimberly. I just decided to do, I'm hoping what will be a quick recording of your family's cruise proposal. There's just some things I wanted to explain, and I felt like the video would be easier than typing out a long email. So, this is the typical format for my proposals. There's a lot of information in them. I usually don't do the video, but again, this is your first time taking a cruise, and I want to make sure that I point out some things to you. So at the front, you'll see some terms and conditions, what's included, what's not included. This is a link to the form that everyone who plans to go will fill out, so that I have the information I need to um, to book the trip for you. Um, the deposit and payment terms. Now this is a little bit different, and I spent some time here talking about if you want to set it up as a group cruise. Group cruises um, are again, I don't want to say better, but they're more feasible if you're planning them more than 6 months in advance. So if you decide to go in June, we can still kind of test it out to see if it works. But group cruises have a few deadlines that need to be met, and a cruise within 6 months usually doesn't give you enough time to meet them if people need like extra time to make their payments. But I did include an explanation here in case you wanted to go through it. Um, and see if that's something you guys might want to try out. Now, I am a full service travel agency, so if you need help with flights or getting around or tours while you're traveling, I can help with all of that. But people have very specific opinions and preferences when it comes to flights. So I have a note here that explains kind of how I approach flights, especially if you're making payments. It's difficult for me to lock it in because airlines require payment before they provide a confirmation. So that is the caveat here. If you're picky about a flight, and I will say I try to get my clients the best flight possible within the budget for their trip. So you don't have to worry about me sticking you on some random airline or random flight that doesn't make sense. I do put a lot of effort into getting my clients the best flight, but I still need to be clear up front that if you would like my help with this, some of this is not within your control unless you want to just pay for that flight up front. All right, and then there is a section here that kind of explains how you can pay for your trip a couple different ways. The link to the full terms and conditions are right here. Travel requirements are here. Of course, once you pick a cruise, I will be more specific about what the requirements are, but typically, just about every cruise that leaves from and returns back to the U.S. Um, does not require a passport. So you can take the cruise even if you don't have a passport. And I gave you a few options. I know we talked about that you guys are in Memphis and the getting to and from the port if you decide to cruise from like a Florida or something like that. I did go ahead and map a few of the ports. Tampa is about 12 hours, so your best bet for a cruise port if you don't want to spend a lot of time traveling to and from the cruise port is Mobile or New Orleans. Both of those you can get to in about 6 hours. Mobile is a little bit closer than New Orleans. So just that's what most of the proposal will focus on. Most of it is from New Orleans and Mobile. I did throw in one cruise on Royal Caribbean from Port Canaveral, and I will go over that in a second. But based on the dates you gave me in the form you submitted, I picked a few short cruises in June, like really two. Now, the 6th to the 11th day that you gave, the 5 day cruise, there are only two ships that meet that criteria, and they are in Florida. So I decided to pick this one from New Orleans. It doesn't align perfectly with your days, but I know you said something about your husband having to do payroll and wanting to avoid that time frame. So I didn't want to give you anything too long, and then you would have to worry about that on your vacation. So this one leaves June 4th, returns June 8th. It's almost a weekend cruise. Leaves from New Orleans, so you can drive there in about 5 or 6 hours. It only goes to one port, which is Cozumel, Mexico. Here I have the sample pricing, um, and these are accurate as of as of the date that I pulled them, which is January 20th. So they fluctuate back and forth. Different promotions happen. They have a promotion today. It expires next week. So depending on when you book, the prices may be slightly different. But this is around the price range that you can expect to pay for each of these cruises. I also made a note here of when the full payment will be due, so that way you and your group can decide if this is the right date for you based on how much time you guys will need to make the payment. Um, the deposit for each cruise is different. This one is 150. So all of that is kind of spelled out in this little paragraph above the price. All right. And the chart is fairly straightforward. This is the number of people in each cabin, and this is the rate for the cabin for that number of people. So if it's just one person in an interior, then the total for them will be $1,632. And I quote what I like to call the full price. So this includes the cost of the cruise, your taxes, your port fees, and also your prepaid gratuities. All right, so this ship is the Carnival Valor. That is the ship that is in New Orleans right now. This is one of the medium-sized ships. It's one of the older ships. Um, Certain ports, because of the size of the port, they can't accommodate a bigger ship. So as you know, most of the ships that are being built right now are huge. So with the smaller ports, New Orleans, Mobile, Tampa, you will find smaller ships like the Valor. And there's a description of the ship. I also included some pictures. This is just of a standard balcony cabin. I will say ships are renovated all the time, so this might not be accurate anymore, but it's the one that they have available for us to use right now. And by they, I mean Carnival. They provide pictures of their ships for us to use. And this is what they have for the Valor right now. So I'm going to assume that it's accurate, but it may not be. All right, option two is Royal Caribbean Utopia of the Seas. The same weekend, this one is a 3-night, and the one on the Valor is a 4-night. This one actually goes to the Bahamas, not to Mexico. So you go to Nassau one day, the next day you're in Coco Cay. Orlando is going to be more than 12 hours. I can pretty much guarantee you that if you drive. But if you fly, the flight is not that long, maybe three hours. And Orlando is the closest airport. Port Canaveral is actually another 45 minutes away. So those are things that we would kind of coordinate. I would help you coordinate if you decide you want to try out Royal Caribbean. Now with Royal Caribbean, their ships are well, in Port Canaveral they can accommodate bigger ships. So the Utopia is one of the newer ships, just released in 2024. It's an Oasis class ship, so you'll see the ship. It has the back open. This middle area right here is actually like they have a park in the middle of the ship called Central Park. Live plants, a little path that you can walk around, restaurants on either side. Very nice environment on the Royal Caribbean ship. You'll see the water slides here. If you're not taking kids, it's not incredibly important. The flow rider. This looks like maybe a tennis court or pickleball court. So Royal Caribbean, the difference between Royal Caribbean and Carnival is that Royal Caribbean is like the latest and greatest. This little stage down here, they actually do an aqua show. So they have like a water-based acrobatic show, kind of like Cirque du Soleil with water. They have an ice skating rink on their ships. These are not things that you would find on Carnival, because Royal Caribbean is, they go big when they build their ships. So that is the main difference between Royal Caribbean and Carnival. And also Carnival, if you're looking for more of a lively party type atmosphere, Carnival is where you go. Royal Caribbean also has lively elements, but that's mostly at night, whereas Carnival is kind of like an all-day thing. Um, so that's just the different ways that you can experience each cruise line. This is where these two people are right here on this ship. Is this right here? This is the top of this slide on the back. It's a dry slide. It's not a water slide, so they give you a mat, and you slide down the back of the ship to the bottom. They have a number of specialty restaurants. Now, specialty restaurants are not included. They're extra, but there's so many meals that are already included in your cruise fare. And Royal Caribbean usually has more included meals than Carnival. But that's only because they have more venues on their ships because their ships are bigger. All right, and just a couple of pictures to give you an idea of what the cabins are like. Interior cabins usually have no window, no view. I tell everyone going on a cruise, especially for the first time, you got to at least have a window, because every time you want to see what time it is or what's going on outside, you actually have to leave your cabin. If you have a window, then you can actually look outside and see the ships getting into port, leaving port, things like that. Ocean view is usually what I recommend that you start with if you don't want to get a balcony or a suite. And you can see there's a picture window in the ocean view cabins. All right, option three. Now, these are the ones that, and when we talked on the phone, I was telling you about the constraints with with June, meaning that your payment will be due in March. So if people need more time, option three and option four are designed for that. So that these are the options for you to look at and consider if people need more time to pay. Now, these cruises are longer. That's just the way the schedules were aligning based on what you said about your husband's schedule. So this is a 7 night Western Caribbean. You go to Cozumel again. But you also go to Belize, you also go to Honduras. So with a 7 night cruise, you get to see more ports. And that's the beauty of that. You have more time to actually go from from island to island. And this particular cruise, the same itinerary in September, same itinerary in October. So if you decide October is better than September, the itinerary is exactly the same. Again, full payment is due in June for a cruise in September. Longer cruises require higher deposits, so these are $250. The pricing as of right now, and of course the ship, Carnival Liberty and the Valor are essentially the same size ship because again, this is cruising, this is leaving from New Orleans. The port can only handle a certain size ship. All right, so here's uh, a short description of the cruise. This is a picture of the atrium on the ship. And that's like the hub of the ship where everybody kind of gathers. There's some bars around there somewhere. This looks like the lounge area. You see balconies where you can kind of look over and see what's going on below. So this is like the hub of the ship, the atrium area. This is what a ocean view cabin may look like. And then option four is a 6 night going to the Bahamas, leaving from Mobile. Now, when I looked at the schedules, Carnival, they don't have a ship leaving from Mobile until later this year. So that's why I picked this one for December. Um, December, full payment is due in September, right? The deposit, I believe this should be 250 because it's a longer cruise. And I tried to keep it away from those days you mentioned where your husband might have a challenge actually being away from work. So if you guys decide you need more time, you would rather do a later cruise, then this is the one that I suggest. The Carnival Spirit is smaller than the Valor and the Liberty, but the good thing about the smaller ships on Carnival is they don't feel crowded. They have more um, open space to guest ratio, whereas the bigger ships they try to squeeze as many people as they can on those ships. So sometimes they can feel crowded, but on the Spirit, it will not feel crowded at all. And this is just a picture of the pool area on the Spirit. Another thing with the smaller ships like the Liberty and the Valor and the Utopia of the Seas, they have like an outdoor movie screen. You can watch movies at night or during the day whenever they're showing them. On a smaller ship like the Spirit, they show movies, but you'd have to watch them like in the theater or somewhere else on the ship because the deck area is not big enough to accommodate a screen usually. And this is a picture of the atrium on the Spirit. And I put a picture of this ocean view cabin because what some people do when they book a cruise is based on the cruise pricing, because the first and second person pay the same rate, but the third and fourth person get a discounted rate. So they try to squeeze everybody into one cabin. And I put this picture here because I want to show you what happens when you have more than two people in a cabin. This single bed will be split into two twins, right? And then this is a single sofa bed right here, which is another twin bed once they make it up. But then you see the fourth person usually is climbing up a ladder into a bunk bed. So if this is a cruise for all adults, unless someone just loves sleeping in a bunk bed, You just have to consider that when you're deciding who's going to be in which cabin. If you can make it just two people in a cabin, it'll be much more comfortable for everyone else. If it's three people, then I will try to get the rooms um, with the single sofa bed so that nobody's climbing up and down out of a bunk bed in the middle of the night. All right. And I believe that's everything I wanted to mention. There's a lot of information here to cover and for you to review. So just take your time, look through it. Let your people that want to go with you review it with you, and then just reach out to me if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. And if you none of these cruises feel like what you're looking for, happy to look into some other options. But based on your date restrictions, I feel confident that these are your best options um, uh, for right now. All right. Thank you so much, and hope to hear from you soon.